Good morning, my name is Patrick Snyder. I'm the Executive Director of BizStarts, and it took a lot to get here today, so I'm glad that you are along for the journey. Just a quick couple things about how I got here and my thinking about this learning today. Is that after I sold my magazine, I knew a lot of people who had hotels and restaurants because they were my customers, and they were looking for someone to run a group called Visit Illinois. And Visit Illinois' mission was literally to bring tourists to the state of Illinois. And as part of their mission, they wanted their executive director going in and teaching tourism to inner city schools. And the reason why that's important is because this was 25 years ago, and Google had just started. And I was iffy about going in and teaching college because I was like, why in the world would anyone pay for school when you could Google the professor's topic and have 100,000 pages on what you could know what they already knew? Well, there's this thing called applied learning that I got into. And applied learning means that you take the education that you get and you use it and apply it on the things that you do. And that's what we're going to try here today. As we go through the class, it's definitely not going to be a lecture. I've always thought that none of us is smarter than all of us, and a room full of people together can do more than one person at the front. When I was running a group called USASB, which was the United States Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship, there were a lot of professors in the room, and they would grandstand and nothing got done. And we came up with a slogan because we wanted to change the culture, and it was, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. That goes for today as well. We want to be mindful of everybody's thinking and their time, and we want to spread the wisdom throughout the group. So none of us is smarter than all of us. I expect participation, and then we're going to have a little bit of fun too. So let's start with guerrilla marketing. What does the term guerrilla mean in this sense? Go ahead. What's that? It's aggressive. Okay, to be a guerrilla is aggressive? Aggressive in the marketing? Go ahead.
Cheap.
Cheap? I like cheap, yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can do guerrilla marketing for less than traditional marketing, so you're absolutely right. Strong and tough, those are good too. The term is kind of, does Ruben have one?
How do they think smart, but act strong?
Smart and strong. Those are all good, and I'll give you where the term actually came from. When the U.S. was involved in the Vietnam War, basically the way that they fought wars back then, where there were lines up, like battle lines drawn, and then the troops or the soldiers would go at it. Well, the Vietnam were different. They were like, we're not going to play by the rules. We're going to literally hit you from above. We're not going to show up on the battlefield when you come and then go behind you and kill you. We're going to go to where you keep all your weapons. We're going to steal them from you and then kill you. And it's crazy. So basically, it's another way of thinking and not exactly playing by the rules. Now, I think war is barbaric. So I don't like to use the term guerrilla marketing. I like to think of marketing and competing with other companies as more like a game. And you all are players. So we're going to have a fun game. I'll have a volunteer from the audience. I get the first square. We'll play a little tic-tac-toe. And if you beat me, you get $10. Cold hard cash. That's a love letter from my lovely wife. Slipped it in the bag this morning. Got a heart on it and everything. But this is the money. Come on. Kevin. Mr. King drives from Chicago every day. Make his dream come true, yep. Use the square like you normally would. Good to see you. You mean the cats? Is that what they call it? Well, I'll put one here for jokes. We'll play it out. How about this? Right? The rules of the game say 3 in a row. But they don't say anywhere inside the module. Now, you might think that's clever. Some people might even think it's dumb. I'm going to give you the $10 anyway. You need money for gas driving back and forth to Chicago. But the truth is if you're going out there playing by your competition's rules, you're going to end up cats unless you decide to change the rules, to get things done your way, to make your product better, to be different. Let's give our friend Kevin a round of applause. How do we think about marketing? Activities that make transactions happen, meaning that you're getting money from your customers. Value-creating activities. What's a value-creating activity? Like what? Yeah, a workshop can create value, but think about your product.
A good experience?
A good experience definitely creates value. So you're at a movie theater, it smells good, it's the right temperature, that's a value add over a place that has no smell at all. It might be cold, which they have. Go ahead.
Something that makes your customer more attractive? Or...
That's exactly right. Yeah, something that makes your customer like you more. You become more attractive. Go ahead.
A workshop about your business, in your business, to attract clients.
Okay, so you're a stylist. Creating value for your customer might be that they get their shoe shined while they're at your shop. So it's something that another person isn't doing that you do. Good.
Uniqueness that I have just by my brand.
Yes.
Show my clients value that they didn't know. For example, they want to hire someone. I show them how strategically they are postured to not only hire one person, but more.
If she's hiring people, she brings them through a process that's more strategic so they get more value from the hire. And sometimes they even consider hiring more. This is a very smart class. That's why I don't talk a lot, because you all got it.
Patrick, I got one more.
All right.
I think that like an item or something that reminds them of their good experience that they can, think about later, like
That's a good idea.
a button or something.
So he's saying if you give them something to remind them of the experience as they're on their way out, they're more likely to come back. And that's a great value add. As you think about your venture, it's the place where you get creative. There's unlimited possibilities. And you need to think of it as marketing being part of a logical mix. So there's a thing called a customer canvas where you take through the beginning experience, whether they click on your link for the first time on the website to the very end. And that blueprint is more what it's called. Goes step by step on what that customer experience is and maximizes that value that you're trying to create. And we'll teach you how to do that with the consultants when you meet with them. So when you start imagining your customers, what you need to do is you need to start thinking of them differently. You also need to start thinking of your product differently. And I want to illustrate that with a story. Think of a bike. There's a guy who's literally works on a mechanical line. He literally wants to hang up working for someone else. And his wife, who's smart, very smart, works with a Fortune 500 company. And they start to talk about the dream of this bike shop. That was a true statement that he said to me. Can you read that? He said, Patrick, I used to oil chains for a living, and it's not very glamorous. But what his wife knew, as she worked at this Fortune 500 company, is that there are campuses. And in these campuses, when you run around for in-person meetings, when we used to do that, the bikes are still there now, but when they used to do that, the employees were walking back and forth and wearing themselves out. And she was one step smarter. She said, you don't oil change for a living. You're an employee benefit. So she put together the proposal. They went to this company together. They got into HR. And they sold that if we could put 50 bikes on this lot, your employees would be happy. It'd be an employee benefit. And by the way, we'll find the insurance on it so you have no liability. We'll do all the maintenance, which gives them 50 maintenance contracts. Well, they sold 6 Fortune 500 companies. And guess what they did in the winter?
Worked on the bike business.
What's that?
Worked on the bike business.
Okay, so that's one thing you could do is make sure that you're servicing all the bikes so they're ready for next season. But what else could you do?
Snow removal?
What's that?
Snow removal?
Well, like Zelda. Well, we're in the door, so we can also get the snow removal too. That's good.
They're going to other campuses and trying to sell their business.
Well, you know, these are all awesome ideas. So yeah, they're going to go spread out and find other campuses. They're going to find other things they can do for that customer. And that your idea was not bad at all. It was awesome. Because once you get your foot in the door and you start spreading out, you get wide. There's 2 ways that you can get more customers. One is sell different stuff to more people, or the second is sell more stuff to the people you already know. So good thinking. The one thing, and how could you guess it, is the stationary bikes. So they're like, we feel bad. We're not a good benefit. Because the wife is brilliant. we feel horrible. You need the stationary bike so you can stay in shape during the winter. Yeah, consistency in doing the same product. What about go ahead, I'm sorry. Okay. Producing the same product with the same activities, what else should be consistent? All right, so you provide those same products, but you also are looking to enhance and improve. Think about the messaging. I'll give you an egregious example. I'm like, Michael says that an entrepreneur is somebody that drives down the street and then points out all the things that could be done better. Like if they would only put a little smoke coming out of that pie, they'd make so much more money on the sign, or what of those things are. Well, I see this thing for Holiday Inn Express, and it basically says, we're good on the environment because we care about you. And then they show a super soaker shower that puts out 50 gallons a minute. That's inconsistent branding. What your message has to match what you're putting out there. Let's talk about the 4 Ps. Before I get going, does anyone know what those are? Go ahead. Pierre? He's got it. Price, place, promotion. Who said it? Who said product? Nice job. So yeah, those are the 4 Ps. And so I'm gonna have you do an exercise. Because we're applied learning today. Then we're gonna hear from the audience. Go through and look at product, see what you do for the customers, whether it's a service or you're selling something. The price, how you decided to price your item. What you're doing now to promote what you do, what you know about your customer, and then where you're selling. And what I would do is I would just on the back of one of your pages, set it up like that. And then I'm going to give you a few minutes and I'm going to pick out a few people who might be a little further along or maybe they need some wisdom from the group and we'll go through a couple of these. Sound good? Are you with me? All right. All right, go ahead and then go.
So for the product, service business, cleaning, mechanical, it's a good value. For the price, my price is a bit higher compared to the market because of the type of set that we deliver. It's good value, so product more expensive, so it's expensive.
So wait, his product is a cleaning business. Can everyone hear him all right? Do I have to repeat it or would you like me to repeat it? Yeah, okay, that's good. So the product is a cleaning business. What he did was he mirrored his competitors and then put a +1 on there because his product is better. EcoClean cleans while taking care of the ecology, right?
We use eco-friendly products, so they're not a bit expensive. So we only talk about the price. The promotion is online, Facebook, LinkedIn. And then the place of distribution, we go to them. Mobile card retail, we come to you. UNICEF, we come to you.
All right, let's give him a hand. But let's also help our friend out. Because we all have good ideas. None of us is smarter than all of us. He's on LinkedIn and Facebook. Are there other ways that you would recommend that he might sell? Other channels? Kendra? She's another social, Instagram. Tim, go ahead.
Either direct mail or phone book.
Okay, you got a phone book, you got direct mail, which can be, go ahead. Okay, radio, advertising, TV. This is a smart group. Go ahead. Right, so I like you'll hit on the sweet spot a lot. I have experience with all marketing, but my sweet spot is that B2B. Like I love B2B because you can get in there and take a small thing that you do and blow it up. Like you have a cleaning service like him and you get a huge customer and it'll change your life in a second. So I do like that, but the way to get to them is what you're recommending is this network. So if you belong to the State Hotel Association, or here they call the Innkeepers Association, or you belong to the Restaurant Association, and you sat on committees there and you raised your hand every time they needed someone to do the work, they would start to think of you as not only a fellow member, but a friend. And you get in there and spread out. Like you get to the point where you were working on those committees, you were networking, as Zelda mentioned. And again, they start to look for something like that. There's no one else sitting in on those meetings. There's no one else raising their hands doing the work. There's no one else in there becoming a part of their culture. You know their language at that point. You know exactly how they talk, and you talk just like them. you use words like, what's your ADR, your average daily rate, or what's your RevPAR? Like you literally start to talk just like them, and the next thing you know, you got business, and you start to take off. So I like that B2B and the networking and the radio and the TV, and we got another one over here.
I was thinking promotions, like you said, through the internet, you can send a promotion to a company and say, I'll give you a discount, or I'll give you maybe for my service in your company. You can create a relationship with your outsourcing.
Okay.
Job.
Yeah, so what he's talking about is promoting to someone, and then once you're in the door, finding ways to cross-pollinate or cross-promote so you can help both their companies out. Very, very good. Another thing I would recommend, and this might come up again down the line because I move ahead of the slides and I move behind because I want to react to the discussion and not what's up there. So one important thing, if you're doing the social, is that the social gets you in there. Facebook gets you in, and they'll give you a bunch of friends, or you'll find your friends on there. LinkedIn will do the same. But when it comes to promoting something, there's an algorithm on that site where if it sees that you're promoting your product, it cuts you off. Why does it do that? Because they want you to pay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, a free online site would be Alignable. And when you join Alignable, it's a group of other small businesses, employees. And on that site, you're able to connect with people, you're able to give people referrals. And what I also like is you are able to promote.
So alignable.com, which I didn't know about because none of us is smarter than all of us. But it's businesses that are all different businesses, right? And then you can network online together for free.
Absolutely free. You're promoting.
You work for Alignable. So I would say this though, that Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Snap, they'll all get you there, but what they're trying to do is get you to be paid. So what's a good way to guerrilla around what they're trying to do?
Email marketing.
Okay, so you're already ahead of me. Because she's right, you do the email marketing, but what do you do when people add you or like your business page? What do you do? Yeah, exactly. Capture the information. Yeah, friend their friends, capture the information. You guys got to start an agency. Awesome. It's going so well. Because you're smart. This is great. Go ahead.
Any and all places where you can create engagement. So to go circumvent that, to go around this algorithm, is you being a cleaning expert goes on to LinkedIn or what all the sites, Twitter, create engagement. Every place where you can create engagement and give your expertise, giving the value to prospects that eventually will become customers. He talked about value. Bring the value before they're even a customer.
Right.
Yeah.
And you will put yourself at the front of the line.
Yeah.
That is true, because the way you clean is so different from, and a lot of people need education about how yours is different.
The differentiation in Pierre's cleaning business. But I would say make sure you reach out, as people start to like your page, start to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm a small company. Always be humble. I'll tell you, in the early stages of your business, you think you're going to claw your way to the top, and it's just not true. If you ask, people will lift you up. I promise you. So reach out to them and say, hey, I'm just getting this little thing going. Can I get your email address to add you? I promise I won't email you more than once a week. Start growing your list. take from Facebook and don't give anything back. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that your differentiation is your eco-friendly products, right? So that's your superpower, is how you're going to differentiate your business from other businesses. And that's, in this day and age, that's going to be very helpful.
Good to see you, Monica. I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I'm not like one of the smartest ones. I'm just starting out, so I'm trying to get smarter. I don't understand the capture the info. What are you saying?
Oh, what I'm saying is if you're on Facebook and somebody likes your business page, it'll say that a new person liked your page, or you can keep a track of the list. And then once you can reach out to that person through the inbox, and then you're good to go. And she said, I'm not the smartest, but you don't have to be. You literally, when you want to find out and answer a question, you ask somebody that's already done it before, or you go to Google, or you do both. Believe me, it's much better to be clever than smart. And hard work beats brains when brains aren't working. Every time. So your customer orientation. Well, let's do one more. Go ahead, tell them. You want to do your 4 Ps? Okay, let's do it. Come on up.
Feedback.
She's looking for feedback.
So I'm a life and weight loss coach.
Life and weight loss coach.
That's my service. And my online and also virtual. So my promotion is I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, on LinkedIn, not on Twitter. And I do videos, blog, and I have various packages. I have food packages,
And your husband does it with you too,
yeah,
right?
he knows me. Yeah, that's my husband.
Hi, everybody.
We have an expert today. So give me a deeper look into what it's a coaching business?
Yeah, so life and weight loss.
Oh, so is weight loss the hook?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So
Lose
there,
weight, feel great, live your best life ever.
I like that. Yeah. So where would you hang out if you were looking for business if you were Zelda? In a gym? Where else? Kevin, did you have one? Okay, movie theaters, restaurants. Well, wait, I want to get deeper. Why would you do it at a movie theater or a restaurant?
Places where people are trading time for not looking
Uh-huh. Yeah. So they do have those ads you can buy in the movie theater. That's
So
good.
you're saying have advertising at
Yeah. Did you have one over here? You know, that's guerrilla. People forget about that, and it's still effective. If you go to a grocery store and you have a product like hers that's B2C, and you're in that neighborhood, you put the flyer under the windshield. Some people will throw it away, and some people will hate you. But the other side of the coin is somebody will be like, I need to lose weight, and this is a gift from God for me. So, yeah, I like that at the grocery store.
that's real guerrilla.
And then, yeah, it is.
I'm always wondering, like, what if somebody sees me that knows?
Send someone else to do it. Send your kid. We got one back here, some comments.
I would say maybe like when you go to church or someone, friends at church, if you could ask them to speak to or speak about it, because a lot of people at church are looking to ways to lose weight.
Yeah, the church is a very good idea. They won't let you do it 100 times, but they'll let you do it once. And the people in the community that know you and have a heart for you, like I said, you're not calling your way to your top. You let people know you're humble and they will lift you up. I promise you.
Brand ambassadors, have people that have lost weight, and those would be, I think that would be a great big persons who, I don't know names, but you can search for individuals that's looking to lose weight and supporting each other in all these virtual groups and have that person looking before and after.
How many people love that brand ambassador idea? Just raise your hand. That's good stuff.
You know, I want to take it back because sometimes I think about when we want to advertise whatever product we may be, childcare or whatever, losing weight, whatever. Sometimes when we come to a setting like this, I find if you bring your material with you, and you're on break or something, you're out intervene, go in a meeting with, like we are, and have a great time, you're going to just share, and then you can ask the instructor, can I make a small introduction, say, hey, I have my literature over here, can you stop by to, let's talk about it?
Yes, what she's bringing up is that if you're in a group like this, then you can go ahead and bring your products or your brochures and tell you can sit down. Thank you so much. Let's give Zelda a hand. So, a couple things, I'm glad you brought that up, because we are going to create a website that has all your products in it. And we're going to label it as products coming from the communities. And there's a heart for that right now. So I think people will go on there and shop. The second point that she brought up, and I'll get to you in a second, is that people should buy from each other. The world has gone insane. Literally. Where to save a dime, they put their neighbor out of business. It's not right. You need to fire Walmart and buy from each other. And I'll tell you what. The CEO at Walmart can cut health benefits and give himself a $4 million raise because he saved $160 million for the company. No one at Walmart is looking out for you. It's deep, it's wide, they do create horrible jobs in the neighborhoods, but what creates real good jobs? You people, everybody, shopping from each other. When I had that magazine, I didn't shop with anyone that didn't buy ads. I found the grocery store that bought ads, I shopped with him. I found the bicycle shop, I shopped with her. I would start thinking the same way. Buy from each other, you'll have instant business. If the 30 people in this room would just commit to buying one product, you could get some going and help each other market too. Let each other know about each other's businesses and each other's friends. So we talk about obsession with our customer. What does that mean? I'm obsessed with I'm going to stalk my customer? No. What does it mean? Veronica's ready for an answer.
No, I'm not ready.
Okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just knowing your customer even better than they know themselves, anticipating the problems that they're gonna come to.
Yeah, so you start to get to know your customer and their behavior so well that you can anticipate challenges they might have based on that persona and create new products for them. When this thing starts going and what you start doing makes sense, when you start to look at it as this is my life's purpose, you're going to go after it and you're going to be miles ahead of your customer. There's a saying that Henry Ford said that's fairly famous, but it's awesome. He said, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Do you follow that?
Yeah.
Your vision ahead of your customer.
Well, isn't that what they say about market research, that, you're going to talk to the customer, and they don't necessarily know or have a vision for them.
Right, and you go to see those customers when you do that customer discovery piece, is just to see if there's a problem. Like, what problem am I going to try to solve? And then you come up with the solution, because you're right, they're clueless. They don't know the solution, they just know that they have to get rid of this problem that they have, and you can help them out.
I was just gonna say, in my field, sometimes they don't really know the problem. Like they think they want or need, but by me doing an assessment, I can show them, no, this is what you really need, and maybe later on do this, so you can posture them for success. Because in my field,
She's doing a very deep dive with these customers, finding out their pain points, their needs, wants, and then how she can be a resource to
An
them.
example is a customer contacted me and they thought because of everything that's going on socially, they wanted to do some type of workshop for diversity. And just in talking to them for 30 minutes, free consultation, I showed them how you can, before you can do that, what is the pulse? How do your employees even feel?
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result of that, I got a pretty good contract.
That's great. Good to hear. Yeah, that's celebrating good news. That's tremendous. But if you're selling anything, it really is that needs, wants, like how can you help? What's the problem? How can I come up with a solution? What's the resource? How can I be a resource for you? So key product issues. Who can define depth and who can define breadth? Breadth. So I'll give you an example. Like a boat store would be super deep in products specifically for boats, like lines. They rent boats, they sell boats, they have boat clubs, they have the vendors on the side and the radios and all that stuff. You'd find a few of those things at Walmart or maybe even a bigger department store, but that depth is set up specifically so you can be that dream come true for that customer that has that hobby. Breadth is you have a lot of things, like you have measuring cups if you're a chain store, but you don't have stainless steel ones and you don't have antique ones and you don't have so that's the difference between depth and breadth. And you just need, as you start to form your business, you want to decide whether you want to go really deep into one thing or get really wide and do a lot of things. How do you want to be positioned? Let's talk about positioning. Who thinks that they have a real good idea of what their customer looks like in terms of she's 30 years old, she likes nightclubs, she or whatever it is, but that has a picture of their customer in the mind, and you're probably a perfect example.
My clients are basically I have different sets of clients. I have clubbers, I have professionals, I have athletes, I have children, I have educational, people that are involved in educational administration. So I have everybody categorized my phones according to my patient.
Did you hear that?
And I put everybody in the bracket, so if I'm looking for administrators in education, I go right to the service. I put educators and they pop up and they go right to this list of clients that I have in administration.
Now in your process, do you treat the administrator different than you treat the clubber, or is there different ways that you service those clients?
No, what I do is I have a general concept of what operates for that, and I make sure everybody fits that. So my slogan is I present very customer service, decision, and accountability. So everybody fits under the club, clubbers, they come in primarily on weekends or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Work people primarily on Saturdays because they want to be set up for the work week. Monday to Tuesday. I work from Tuesday to Saturday. Within that week, I know who's coming. Wednesday is my slower day, so I'm primarily pick up for older clients and special computers. So I got to set up where everything is categorized, and I don't get bogged down and try to figure out who's where.
Yeah. The one thing I liked about this kind of slogan was that precision was in there. Because if my stylist isn't worried about precision or accountability, yeah, you got a problem. That's right.
Yeah, it's so interesting because he interacts with so many different types of clients. Like, I'm like, is he part of an affiliate or, like even a staffing agency? You can advertise for
My goal is to be to create a resource.
Yes, a referral type business. You had your hand up, Jackie.
Because I want to recommend that you start looking at different types of boards. For example, MNTC, they train a lot of cosmetologists, stylists, etc. Well, they have advisory committees. So I would advise you to get involved with that, and being a former employee of MNTC, I actually can tell you who the instructional chair is, and connect you with them.
All right, so he has several different types of companies or people that he deals with that are different segments. Is there anyone that focuses on one specific type? Okay.
Stuffed chicken wings.
You what? All right, so who would be likely to love a stuffed chicken wing? What's that? Yeah. Okay. Everybody. I guess what I'm trying to get at is that some products, and we'll get to it maybe I'll move this along just a little, because we'll get to it a little bit more later in the thing. But you want to strive for differentiation. So if you are going to be better, it better be the best. So I got to taste that stuffed chicken wing, and then we'll decide. All right, we're going to do another exercise. You have this circle in your book. So turn to that page. I think we're going to work with, I like the idea when we work with one and then the group gives them a bunch of ideas, because it seemed to work with the last one. I think Zelda hit the jackpot. So you do these exercises because you need to get to know your product and you need to get to know your customer. So in this exercise, you got this thing called the core product and a primary benefit. So you're going to have to when you're doing this exercise, I want to know what's your primary benefit. What's the benefit of me using your product? Then you're going to go to your tangible product. And in your tangible product, you're going to describe the quality, what your packaging is like, what your features are, how reliable is it, the options, the design. That's part of your tangible product. And then the augmented product. Those are the things that go along with your actual product. What's your return policy, delivery? And if you don't know those things yet, then this is a really good exercise, right? It's a tool you can use to improve your business. That's why we put the tools out there. And then lastly, how are you communicating your project? So your product. What's your product's image? Your product logo? Who identifies with you? So I want you to take 15 minutes to work through this, because it's a very, very good exercise that will get you thinking more about your company and the possibilities and what you can be doing. So let's knock that out, and we'll see you in 15.
Monday.
All right, let's start working our way back in now.
Promote your business. Yeah, local in Milwaukee.
In terms of grasping the assignment, sometimes the best way to learn is by doing. And that's a chart that they put up for grad students at Notre Dame. You took a crack at it. Who thinks they did really, really well? We have to pick on one person, because then we can help each other learn. All right, come on up. That's the way we do it.
Okay, my primary benefit is mental health support. I'm opening a wellness center, a therapeutic arts wellness center. And that's the core product. The tangible product would be workshops, counseling services, therapists, and other wellness professionals such as acupuncture and different wellness professionals. I was struggling with the augmented product. is the customer training. That's another thing I don't think that applies. But I have on the communicated product, I will communicate the vision and mission statement, business logo, website, social media.
Okay, I think she did a great job. So that's actually the first two she nailed. Hit the nail right on the head. This augmented thing, don't let it scare you. Don't let it switch your slide. The augmented thing is what comes along with your product. So if you had a breath freshening gum, the overall benefit would be not having stinky breath. You'd be working on the design of that, what the gum looks like, et cetera, et cetera. When it came to the augmented product, it would be the packaging, where you sold it, the things that came along with, if you offer a money-back guarantee. So go ahead. I think you're going to get it now.
For me, would that be happiness as a result of
I think happiness would be one part of the primary benefit. I think augmented would be, does it have wheelchairs? Do you offer free tablet service so they can Zoom their family members? Are your sheets better? Which creates, 600 thread count sheets if you have those or whatever. So they're the things that sit alongside of that product. So yeah, you take care of somebody's mental health. Is it a physical facility? Yeah, at a physical facility, that augmented product is the things that go around that. And do you guarantee to the family members that they get 3 square meals a day or whatever? It's the thing that goes along the primary benefit is the augmented. Anybody else want to try one? We got some time. All right. Mr. Banks will be joining us up front.
So my core product, my primary benefit is my customers are able to decrease their turnaround time when submitting scholarship applications, receive insights into the most effective way to apply for scholarships, and peace of mind that they have support along their journey. And then the tangible product, I said quality, so I provide accurate and industry-specific experience insights from over 7 years of experience in the field, especially because I was awarded over $175,000 in scholarship money myself. Reliability and dependable with my timelines, as I understand the college and scholarship experience, and ensure that I take pressure off my clients by meeting or exceeding their expectations. And then features, customers receive resume writing and review, interview prep assistance, and financial aid package review when they sign a one-off contract.
Nice. Good job. That's really great. So the problem he's solving is college applications for money, scholarships, are hard. I think sometimes they're literally specifically hard on purpose because they want only the people who know how to fill out the forms to get the money. Well, Kevin sees the problem. He said, I'll go out and show them how to get that money and make a few bucks myself. So that's terrific, and I think he did a good job with the model. The thing about these models is if you're really taking a deeper dive and you want to get it done, you got to be intentional. You got to go home with a tool like this. You got to blow it up on your wall. Literally, you got to Google every word on there and start to figure out what the definitions of those things are, or when you're working with your coach or your mentor, to have them explain it, deeper dive. But in terms of a first pass at this, you all get an A+. So congratulate yourselves. All right, so when you're talking about a promotional mix, you're talking about the different activities you're involved with that creates sales. In terms of being guerrilla, and let's not use that anymore. Let's use playing the game. We're not guerrilla because we're not crazy and with ambition. We're playing a game. What two parts of the gameplay for businesses at this level would be the most important, do you think? Go ahead.
Personal seller?
Tyler got one of them. Go ahead. And you might have different reasons, so there's no wrong answers, but I'll tell you what I think. Go ahead. The publicity and the personal selling. And you might not have, did you have the answer? Yeah. I'm sorry. Tim had it over here. But I want to explain something to you that a lot of smaller businesses don't know, but that I know because I owned a magazine. Publications are hungry for content. They sell a ton of advertising to print the publication, but if they pay writers to write stories, really good stories, it costs a lot of money. So if you come to them with an idea for a story for free, and you get to know that writer, you're going to get pressed. You know, BizStarts is a very important group. They never paid attention to publicity. And my first week on the job, I literally called Nick Williams at Milwaukee Business Journal and some of the other writers, and I said, you know, we want to do a good job providing press releases to you, and I want to get to know you because I think you're an incredible writer. Write this down. You find the writers in the business or community sections that you want to work with. You call them up and you compliment them about their column sincerely. You find the writers that you like, and you say you need 15 minutes of time because you want to make their life easier. And how do you make a writer's life easier? For one, you can bullet point the story for them, but you ask them, would you rather have a press release? Would you rather have me write a few paragraphs and you do the rest, or would you rather have me bullet point that out for you? Then you ask them how they like to receive their pictures. And you might not think about this outwardly, but they get them in a million different ways. Some people send over memory sticks, some people email a file. They get the photos in different ways, and there's one way that they like it over the other. And the writers are different, so that's why you're having the conversations. You want to make sure that you're doing what they want you to do. And then you want to know how you'd like me to follow up. Do you like me to go find the article on my own? Do you mind if I ask you to send it to me if you print it? Do you want more information on what is going on in the future? How often should I keep in touch with you? Go ahead, Zelda. All right, so she's asking, are these writers that you want that are going to promote your product? These are writers at the publications. They work for the publication, but they're at a loss for story ideas. In your story right now of getting a business going in the middle of this climate is pure beautiful. There isn't a writer in the world that would sit down. Do you know how much it costs for a half-page ad in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel? Somebody want to give me a guess? So he says 5,000, he says 500. It's somewhere in between. You're around $2,000 for one ad, which nobody really reads. They just turn around and buy it. Do you know how much it costs you to do a story? To get a story done in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel? Zip. You pitch that writer and he writes that story, it costs you absolutely nothing. They're not turning by that page like they do with an ad. They're reading that. And they're internalizing that story. They'll seek you out. Are we clear on what public relations is? Go ahead.
Has helped me was podcast guesting. People have various podcasts for different reasons. You go on their podcast, you might answer questions, but no matter how you look at it, you're going to get to tell your story. Your information is going to be attached to their website, so their subscribers will look at your subscribers, and that's just a good way to get leads and possibly.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. There's the podcasters out there, they need content. You become part of their content. Go ahead.
And start your own podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to start your own podcast, but it's also good if you don't have an audience to go borrow someone else's audience. Or if a newspaper that's been around for 80 years runs a story about you, it's instant credibility. And he's absolutely right. You're going to do that podcast and grow that audience. But at the very beginning, you're going to want to steal someone else's audience.
The thing, because it's so much to the podcast, and once the podcast is done, you have content for other things like blogs, like newsletters, like ebooks. So I tried it. That's why I said that I'm going to put that on hold.
Tyler, you got something?
Sometimes people don't realize the work that's involved in podcasts and writing.
Absolutely.
So it's always better to use someone else's platform and their like expertise than try to do it yourself and build it.
Yeah, well, it's the ultimate guerrilla. They go out there and spend all the time and money building an audience, and then you just come in and get all the publicity. So it's good. It's good. So I think we're understanding that publicity piece, but the difference between people who get press and who are in the paper a lot and the people who don't, what do you think it is? It's the passion, and it's the relationships with those writers. And it's the intentionality that you won't get press unless you go looking for it. And you have to get in and talk to those people. Milwaukee's a small town. You know, a place like Chicago with 7 million people and reporters getting beat up by the best PR people in the world, it's Rome itself when it comes to getting press. Milwaukee is kind of a smaller town, and everybody knows each other, or 6 degrees of separation at the least. You can get in and see these writers. It wasn't my position. It was that phone call that you want to make their life easy and see how you can get a story to them. They'll respond to that, I promise you.
Do you necessarily have to know the publication, like be a reader of?
No. You just, here it's Milwaukee Business Journal, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and BizStarts are the big three. If you had a writer at each one that you could reach out to, and do yourself a favor, don't waste their time, you know? Like, when it's BizStarts, we had a convicted felon who did 30 years, like literally in a hole for drug use, which we thought was insane for an addict. And he learned how to bake in prison. And the guy saw God there, literally. So, I get emotional when I talk about Lamar, but we said, these cookies are fantastic. And he goes to Hush Blackwell, which is a law firm, and we sit down, and Paul Everly, who's the CEO of Hush Blackwell, tastes the cookie. These are the best cookies I've ever eaten. And Lamar says, they're good for you too. They're sweetened with sativa, they're gluten-free, they're good. And Paul asked the buyer, because he had 2 buyers sitting there. That's the way it works when you go to these big companies. There's the boss, and then there's the 2 people that actually write the check. And they all make the decision together, whether or not they're gonna use you. Where do we get the cookies? No, that's what Paul says. We get them at Panera. How much are they? $1.70. Lamar, how much are yours? And I elbow Lamar under the table because I don't want him to do that thing you do, even though you're better, that you put your price down. I charge $1.70. Well, Lamar, we do $1,000 in cookies a month. Can you handle that? I can handle that. And then Lamar and I are looking at each other, we're locked into each other, face to face, and I'm like, what's up, Lamar, don't buy it back, like, let's just stop right here. And Lamar's a bright guy. So we didn't say anything. We just waited for Paul to talk. Set Lamar up. Lamar and I walked out in the elevator, and we're like, high fives all the way around. It was really, really one of the best moments of my life. But that was a story in the press. What better story is that than a convicted felon going to a law firm, not for legal advice, but to sell a tremendous cookie order? You gotta, yeah, let's do it. We'll tell Lamar, right? Yeah. But you're gonna need to create transformational stories like that about your business. You're gonna have to see your business as a story. And David flung the rock, right? And knocked down Goliath. That's you. All right, I think we covered that, right? Well, let's talk a little bit about personal selling. Who's doing it now? We got 4 personal selling. How'd the rest of you get in business? What's that? Yeah, so personal selling means that you're face to face with someone selling your product. Why is that an advantage? Go ahead. So face to face, there's a connection. You can read them a little bit better. They might have critiques for you to make your product better, easier to use, quicker to get to. Make it what? You can educate them as well. All really good points on personal selling. I'm going to go to Douglas and then I'm going to go to you.
A benefit is that outside of I'm giving them the direct message.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from a third party, I know the foundation, I know how to talk to them, I know how to deliver, how to try to deliver to them. So it's what we get to do about it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, what he's saying is he gets to control the message completely because it's coming from him. Like MBA speak is this direct line of sight to your customers. And you need it from both sides. I'll just point this out. It's not part of the lecture, but I'll point it out. When you make a sale, you need line of sight. But when you make a mistake, you also want that line of sight too. You don't want somebody writing, I'm sorry notes for you, or apology letters, or getting, trying to get things done without you. You got to step in and have that direct line of sight to the customer so they know that you care. And I'm sure that's what you do. Zelda, did you? Right, absolutely. And did everybody get what you said? That people like to buy from people that they know and that they sell to. I'm going to come here because I've been there a lot. Go ahead.
In my situation, my product, I sell art on my business, and my product sells themselves. I don't even try to advertise or do anything because I'm only one person. So building a team where it's not all just me making these products and business, but I'm afraid to advertise because I'm not at a point where I can meet the demand.
Right, if you can't handle it on something operationally, they will hate you forever. Like literally, they said that there was a promise made, this promise was broken, and I may have paid a deposit or I may not, but I didn't get it when I wanted. So your instincts are, like everybody in here, as I ask the questions, you already know the answers.
And I tell them I'm 6 months out, I'm booked 6 months out, or I'm booked 3 months out, and they know. So not to expect it anytime soon.
Well, I mean, if she's booked 6 months out, does anyone have any recommendations for her? What's that?
I think you need some help.
Yeah, capacity or expansion.
Time to grow.
The thing is, that's not primarily my business.
Mhm.
I kind of just was thrown into it because of the money. And
How can you farm that out?
No, I have to train someone because what I do is so unique and it's so different, and that's why it's so in demand. And my customers are willing to wait a year if they have to.
When would now be a good time to start training somebody else?
Now,
All right.
yesterday,
Tyler, you had something.
I want to hop on the fact that your product sells itself, because like I don't advertise, but people always see something and you're like, I like what you did for that person.
yes.
What do you do?
Graphic design.
Okay. So Tyler's got his graphic design company. He's working and operating off of word of mouth.
Yeah, I've been doing that for like a decade.
Yeah. It's good. I mean, some founders are not interested in expansion and they like just moving things along. Some founders are anxious or eager for expansion and they move it along. I want to get to her point a little bit just because, and we'll take a break soon, is that we'll take that 15-minute break that we're not working. But when you're face-to-face with a customer, and this is one of the things I love the most, is that you might see other opportunities that you're not already working on. So there's a gentleman I work with, his name was Steve Kaplan, and Steve did product sampling for a living. And I like the story because it just shows if you just listen, you might get more. And Steve went into a meeting on Friday at 3 o'clock, which is always a mistake because people are already at the ball game or in their mind. And he asked the person, he did product sampling, he asked the person, what are you worried about? It looks like you're worried. And the guy said, well, we have this order in customs from Pantene from China. They sent these silver bags over that they put the smaller shampoo bottles in when they end them out. And we can't get the thing out of customs. And Steve says, well, I do customs. I'll get those things out of there for you. Well, Steve never did customs in his life. So he called another company and then he went over there in the van and the guy showed him this is how you get something out of customs. And Steve brought the thing to Procter & Gamble. It's a big company they was working with. Well, the guy goes, how the heck did you get this done? He's like, well, like I said, I do customs. He got a $60 million customs order that day. And he was selling sampling for $5,000 a month. Just because he was listening. It changed his life in a second. He was living in his parents' basement. This is no lie. Getting the sampling company going. And because he listened, he ended up striking gold. And he wrote a book called Bag the Elephant, How to Get and Keep Big Clients. It won the Benjamin Franklin Book Award and literally was a New York Times, Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestseller. But those are the things, you need to start building that narrative for yourself. Whatever that is, you need to be telling the stories, but you need to be listening. Go ahead.
I was going to say for Vicki, what she could do is kind of like the hairdresser model, where she just subs out, and it's not going to be you, but if she can get an artist that's similar style to hers, people would probably be happy with that too, as long as it's her concept.
Or even a college student.
And then license it.
Vicki, a lot of people have energy for your business. It's a compliment to you.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I just wanted to say that the example that Vicki and Tyler gave is that something that Zelda and I have been learning is people don't like to be sold, but they love to buy.
Yeah.
And those were two great examples of people loving to buy. And
Yeah.
you've created this scarcity mentality, 6 months, and they're waiting for 6 months. That's incredible.
He's absolutely right. And it's a point that is brought up a lot is that the typical customer conversation and with the newspaper when you're trying to pitch a story is it's how do we be a resource for each other? Like what's the problem? Because when you get to a meeting like that, if you're selling B2B, or even if you're selling B2C and you're online and you're trying to get to that click, is the person sees you as the solution to your problem, but you've got to know what the problem is before you can solve it. This is how a customer buys. I'm going to check my slides for a second. I just want to make sure I'm on time. We're actually doing good. So the first step is they feel a need or there's some want, arousal. They go out and they decide, and this is the typical buying pattern, they go out and they want to find out about different products to decide which one they're going to buy. And then they do a turn evaluation, which is what's an alternative evaluation? This class is so bright I should just not talk. What is it? Yeah, very good example. The competitor. What else? There's another one.
Asking maybe friends or peers that
Yeah. So exactly, competitors and friends, and then they go ahead and make so they buy the thing, and then there's a post-purchase evaluation, which means did I like it or was it no good? So I was trying to kind of get to this early, is you cannot be all things to all people because what happens is you start to do that commodity trap. Do you remember the commodity trap that Professor Morris pointed out? Everybody has the same idea of selling it, everyone else at the same time, and then they all become average, and then the best example is the coffee shop. So they do the $1 coffee, and nobody's really buying it that much, and all the coffee shops around town are they go to 50 cents and then they give the coffee away with a meal. And then all of a sudden, they're trying to turn tables over faster and faster so they can make not margin, but volume. Remember, they're at that low point, low margin, low volume. So what happens is Starbucks sees coffee as an opportunity. They put in Wi-Fi, they can order different kinds of coffee. What happened to the price of the coffee for Starbucks? It shoots up because of the differentiation and the value added. So if you start to focus on what customer you want, and they had a specific one in mind because it was an entrepreneurial boom pre-2007 when the market dropped off. And there were a ton of people with single shingle, meaning that they just did business for themselves, making a ton of money and they wanted to get out of the house. So they'd sit in this coffee shop with the free Wi-Fi, and Starbucks, it was gold, but that was their audience, those single shingles. So we've been talking about this all along, making sure you're efficient and being careful with your resources. Anybody know what the 80-20 rule is? Some people do, yeah, I figured.
So the 80-20 rule is that 20% of your customer will not meet the one that keep you in business.
Right. So yeah, 20% of your customers make up 80% of your revenues. So if you focus on that one type of customer, if you focus on that 20% and find others exactly like them, you're going to have a lot of revenue. So there's a shotgun approach, which is a shotgun when you shoot it, the spray goes all over, whereas a rifle, it's shooting right at the target. And this is literally one of my favorite stories. I don't know, I live in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And it's fun there. I mean, it's a tourist town. The lake is nice. And there's a person on the corner, and make no bones about it. When you're in Lake Geneva and somebody owns a corner like that, it's generational wealth. It's wealth they didn't create themselves. Well, I love the entrepreneurs, so I'm like, how come he gets so much business? Like, I want somebody else to get this business instead of him. And long story short is, how do you do it though? He's a player. He literally has 15 of those machines. And then he's got another 15 of those. It used to be, his grandfather, it used to be an auto clinic. And now he doesn't work on cars anymore because he just rents scooters. What do you think the markup is on those scooters?
A couple $1,000%.
Yeah, well, literally, they buy themselves after the 5th rental.
Wow.
Which is why he can keep buying more. Can you compete with him?
No.
You're an entrepreneur, right? Can you compete with him?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to show you how it was done. There was a lady in Lake Geneva who bought one scooter. She bought this one first. She had the scooter because she couldn't afford a car. She worked at a resort. She ran the scooter to and from the resort, even when it was raining out. When she wasn't riding that scooter, she was, having people in hospitality like to have a good time. She's out having fun. So she was like, what if I talk to the concierge and the bell people at my hotel and put just a little flyer together? What do you think her slogan, you're not going to guess the slogan, but I'm going to ask you, what do you think the slogan was for that? And what's the difference between her scooter, that first one that I got, and the ones we just saw? The color is different, but what was the thing about the other scooter? It looked cheap, right? Those things look goofy. Who wants to drive around in one of those things? I mean, the tourists come up and they're so desperate to spend money, they're just throwing it away. It's crazy. Go ahead.
Hers pops and looks fun.
Yeah, hers does look more fun.
Stands out.
Well, Scooter Girl, her slogan was, ride like a local. And the reason why it was ride like a local is because the people who have money in that town are driving around on scooters without stuff all over the front of them, And they don't look ridiculous. Like there's no Red Me sign or whatever. And she started with the one with the flyers. And then, since it's only 6 times to a new scooter, she has 12 now. Now, she doesn't work at the resort anymore. She works with the resort. She gives them a piece when they rent a scooter. She also tips the bellman $10 when they send someone her way. But what else do you think she did? Because here's the other thing. She doesn't have to own a corner on the block of Lake. She doesn't need her, the grandparents' money to get that block in Lake Geneva. She keeps them at the resort. And they love her so much they don't charge her anything for it. She will, not this year, but next year when she doubles capacity, do better than that guy. And Scooter Girl, who's awesome lady, will have a 1/10 of the expenses. She didn't go buy a big place or whatever. She has them all in her garage. And then there's a motorcycle shop there, and their mechanics work on her scooters, so that's her overhead. She has 0. She doesn't have a website. She just prints the flyers and gives them to the bellman. That's awesome, right? It's the perfect example. So let's walk it through as Scooter Girl. How does she get the attention of her customer? What's that? Right, so she took something she knew, which was hospitality, and then she leveraged her contacts in the hospitality industry. How does she get people understanding her product? I should have brought one of those flyers, by the way.
Do you understood what her competition was doing and offered something better?
Right, side-by-side comparison. That shows you're clearly better. There's this, excuse my French, folks. There's this crappy thing over here with writing all over it, or there's this beautiful thing that you can ride around on. That's awesome. That's pretty good. Then the belief step, they look at it, it's like they're clearly different. They start to like it, get excited about it because they don't have to she they're already she doesn't deliver them to the resort, they're already there. So why would I leave the resort when I could drive this thing around the golf course here and be safe, go into town and rent it from this guy, you know? And then they take action and buy. You need to do this step for your business. You need to figure out, how am I getting the attention going? How am I getting their interest going? How am I driving this process towards a buy? And then this is another example I want you to work on. And think first about the example we know about the guy, the person that oiled chains for a living with the brilliant wife. And what does that teach you guys in the room, by the way?
Very smart.
You listen to your wife when she does something. Exactly. But think about what your objectives are. Think about what your audience is. Think about the messaging, where you're going to put that message, the timing on that message, how many times you need to reach a customer or call them for an appointment or email them to get to a sale. You should figure that out. Do you know why? Go ahead, Kendra. I'm not picking on you, I promise. Ruben? You want to know the how, and I'll give it to you, Tom or Tim.
You need to be an expert in your field.
You need to be an expert in your field, but you also need to know the process of that selling and how many times you need to have the data on the sale. You need to be in front of the customer. How many calls do you need to make to get to a customer, or how many impressions you need on Facebook to get a customer. You need to figure out what it costs you to get a customer, so you can just replicate it over and over and over again. Once you know the system, like, oh, it takes 40 clicks to, or 40 impressions for me to get one customer, then you know that you have, if you do 320, you're going to have 8 customers. If you know it takes, 20 phone calls to get an appointment, and then you get a customer out of that appointment, then you're making 100 phone calls a day, or you're going to be out of business. But look this over and figure it out for your own business. And the consulting starts on November 2nd. So you're going to be paired with a mentor who's going to sit with you. And these people are more qualified than I am. So you're going to be with some smart people. And they're going to, if you have questions, but you want to go in asking the right questions, right? Unless you're running through these models, the communication will be not as effective. You want to dig on these and do some learning on your own as well.
Would it be like to know our why?
Yeah, you definitely need to know your why when you walk in the room with those mentors. But you also want to have specific questions, like if you're having trouble with the augmented part of your business, you need to go in and say, hey, Patrick went over augmented. Can you go over it again? Can you give me more specific examples? Ann did a tremendous job of walking you through your numbers and getting to break even. The way she carefully plotted that out was excellent. But I hated accounting. I couldn't wait to get rid of it. But I had to learn. And the thing that's funny is sometimes the thing that you learn later in life is the thing you get to know the most. You get to be better at it. There's stories about people who had a stutter or a lisp that end up being the captain of their speech team. There are people who are the skinniest person in class that ends up being the captain of the girls' varsity soccer team. I mean, if you work on it, you're going to get better. All right, so knowing that this is the buying process that need recognition step up front, how do you create awareness? Knowing that in the buying process they're going to do this information and search, how do you create that interest? Knowing that they're doing that alternate education, which we talked about, friends, competition, how do you create the preference? These are questions you're going to have to answer. How do you go from him making a purchasing decision to closing the sale? And then how do you build a relationship? You're gonna go through this exercise and figure out how you get to that. And I kind of did it. I'm gonna knock this whole thing out for you. And we'll take a break after this, I promise. All right. So I made this easy on myself because I had the magazine, but there's opportunity for you to learn. So to create awareness about my product, I did trade show journal ads. But what I did was I went to the Hotel and Lodging Association and the Restaurant Association because I wanted hotels and restaurants. That's all I wanted in my magazine. So I went to their trade publications and I ran ads that I had a magazine that advertised them. Then I went to their trade shows and I said, if you want to promote your product, I've got a magazine. And then I went to the press. Do you think I got any press? I threw that on there for grins. I didn't get any press. Do you know why? Because I was a competitor. Yeah, they didn't want me to succeed. And down the line, like to generate leads, I stayed at those trade shows and I also purchased a mailing list of just hotels and restaurants. I sent direct mail to those folks. And then I went and saw their spaces. I went to the restaurants and the hotels and I did personal calls and I made sales. And then afterwards, I worked within their committees. Like I said, I was the first one to raise my hand and did all that. Now, during the break, don't let me lose you. Let's keep that energy up. Is during the break, I want you to map out your process. You've got a blank page in there behind this slide. It's the second one there. And write down the activities that you'd be doing to create awareness. Now, the barber is going to be different than the nursing home, is going to be different than the scholarship person. So yours should not look like anyone else's in this room. And when you leave here, you should have that to remind yourself the activities that you need to be involved in. So I'm going to give, what time is it?
10:21.
What time? Okay, good. Let's try to knock one out in 10, 15 minutes. We'll take 15 total so you get the break. And then we'll come back and go through one or two. Okay, so we started off with our message of none of us is smarter than all of us. And I think it's a good one. We've had some guest speakers in front of the class with this applied learning, and I think they've done a great job. And you've done a great job advising them. We're coming towards the end now, and designing your selling process is going to be a really big part of you getting your business. In fact, when you get with your consultants, they're going to bring you through a thing called the Lean Model Canvas that a gentleman named Steve Blank came up with from Stanford University. And I mentioned Steve because he's a professor of practice, which means that he's not a PhD. Stanford brought him on because he knows how to make businesses happen. And that's why we will be using that canvas. Anybody think that they nailed this? I'm going to have two come up. I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to have Pierre go first. Well, wait, because Pierre's gone already. I'm going to have Rick come up and give his thing, and then we'll go with Douglas. I've got to spread it. All right, let's go. Let's keep the energy going. Yes, sir. What did you put under each of the diamonds?
My product is a three-dimensional sound system that provides excellent sound for games, music, and movies. Actually outperforms headphones and surround sound systems and even audiophile listening rooms. And I have the product, and so to create awareness, I like the idea of putting flyers on the car, by the way. That's interesting. Trade shows, by the way, that are specific for gamers, okay, audiophiles. Right now they don't go people don't go to these trade shows because of COVID, but they'll be starting up. And they have big parking lots, and just sticking a little sticker underneath their windshields is cool. Actually being at the trade show is even better, the demos. You gotta see this to actually experience it. So, sending demos to influencers as well. And this is all under awareness. Trade press, like Patrick was saying, getting in contact with the people that do this for a living, that explain things. This is a new product, I think you're very interested in it. Also, my own website, which I'm working on, get that going. And other people's podcasts, like Patrick was saying. So that would be for this. And then to generate leads, pulling them off from the website, getting their emails, and going through that process and working through the funnel. And local influencers as well. Getting demos out, showing what you have to other people, and demos at trade shows, local trade shows as well. For the follow-up contacts, it'd be mostly email, I could see, using other people's emails, their contacts that they have, and actually a personal phone call. I mean, explaining it, asking them, for questions, going through the process of seeing how I can help them to enjoy their music more, play their games better, much more demanding. A lot of the people that want to play games are people that want to dominate the game, and this is has an edge. So established preference would be a comparative demos. I was mentioning that my product outperforms headphones. So take the same content that they may know very well, either if they're a gamer or love music, and have them play the same sound, same music, the same game on both some very good headphones, maybe a $500 set of headphones, versus my product, okay? And just have them comparatively see where the establishing preferences so that they know how it compares. And also, to close the sale, mostly it'd either be on site at a trade show or through my website. That's the way I'm going to be going. So that's what I'll be doing.
Any suggestions for Rick?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Rick, we'll go with you and then we'll go with you.
Videos with your comparison that you're speaking of.
Very good.
To reach a broader audience.
Okay. I'll just talk to them about that. Right?
Good, we got one here and then we'll go with Kevin.
Yeah, so if I were you, what I would do is I'd connect with people on LinkedIn, because on LinkedIn you can either do an audio message or you can make a video. So you could connect with these people, show them, actually make a video showing them how your product works. And there's also a site called Hippo Video where on the email side of it, you could do video emails demonstrating your products to really, wow them.
So when you say demonstrate your product, how are you,
I don't know anything about your product, so I don't know exactly what you're.
So would it be me demonstrating?
Yeah, like you're like, notice how much better what your product is compared to these headphones, and then you make a demo video demonstrating how your product outshines the headphones.
Okay. It's a little hard to do the sound, but because there's,
Well, if you could tell a story or do something with video to describe it to them, you'll figure it out as you go along.
Kevin, go ahead.
Grab a couple of the local college students and make them brand ambassadors, because when they're not doing
Influencers,
schoolwork,
yeah.
they're playing video games, especially at MSU.
Jim?
I was going to say something similar to that, like along the lines of maybe have an actor demonstrate, someone who looks like a gamer that they can trust.
Are you talking about something they know?
I don't know about that, but
Okay.
there could be someone who wears the same, clothes kind of thing, someone that they can relate to and trust, say, oh, that gamer is using it, I want to use it.
So I'm thinking of actually going to the gamer influencers. There's a lot of them.
And that's what he was talking about, that's kind of what I was trying to say too.
Yeah, like trade one of your products to the influencer.
Give it to them.
Yeah, in terms of like I'm providing this for you.
You know, if you're trying to service, you do promotion for me. What do I have?
Yeah, because I like, hey, you know, right, if you don't, send it back, right? Yeah.
We got one more in the back, and then we're going to bring Douglas up.
Like you see on TV where they have somebody that tries it, and you know they have on the high tech $500 unit. They go, oh, that's nice, and then you show video the whole thing. Oh wow! You just video that, and then they'll want to try it.
Yes.
You know.
A testimonial.
Yep. It's video the testimonial.
Yeah, now, it's just that, you know, it's like Patrick was saying, if you don't know something better, like, they're not going to expect it. They want to get better headphones. It's kind of like the Henry Ford, you know, fast horses, yeah. Completely different product, it's way outperformance headphones. So, yeah.
One more from, question.
What's that? Yes, it is. Yeah.
Doug, you want to come up?
Sure. Hello, everybody. This is sort of like the unspoken ways of how we actually gain our clients and how we actually operate. So to create awareness, there's so many different ways to do it. When I started, one of the things I did was I gave people haircuts. Or see people in certain areas. I would send, make my pitch and I would say, well, hey, go on, this haircut is on me. And what happens after that is, form of good service, and you'll go out with somebody else. Even if it's only one client, so you have to give something to get something. That's one way. Another way for me to create awareness would be social media. The social media groups, I make videos, I do postings. I've just been affiliated with LinkedIn, and I put LinkedIn on the wall. So I never knew about those, but I do connect to, when I was talking about promotions earlier, I was sending an email to business to say that their company, somebody from the company is afforded a haircut on me. You might email or social media connection, get contact me, either clients or professional sports. They actually, I give them a college student. Before they leave, they'll send me to the people. So the awareness of the advertising and marketing in this field is basic, hands-on, and I was talking about the direct approach. I talk to the direct generating leads. The lead is basically connected to the sales. The leads are the advertising, the word of mouth. So if somebody comes to town and somebody already gives a service, they'll recommend that person to come to them. And their business will be growing. Follow-up contacts. I don't follow up very often because it is such, the word of mouth gives us direct access to this client. So the follow-up is if I contact a business or somebody I'm directly trying to approach, if they don't contact me, then I'll follow. But I don't have to do it in the follow. Establish preference. I don't have a I'm taking all the clients, I'm taking whoever is looking for the service. But what I've been doing since I've been in this program is I've been targeting more of a business aspect or business client versus just a direct social client. So people that I know they're already in. I work out to 911 advance for more businesses, so people that we have in this room and your friends, that's the next step. close the sale. The sale is supposed to be different. I have a thing, my end goal, my game is always the end goal. It's like, my focus is to get to the end game. So I visualize what the person is asking me. That's the part of my vision is to make sure that anybody asking me. So that's the vision. That's the sale is done. And the relationship is built with conversation. Of course, I will say 15 minutes, 20 minutes to be my guest conversation. So from there, I have to learn people. I have to, really get to learn me and learn how I operate. And I really don't lose clients very often, but we all do. That's just what it's like. But the relationship is built.
Nice job, Douglas. You did a good job of covering all the. How about some recommendations for Douglas on how he might improve? Go ahead, Zelda.
I like to watch videos of women getting their hair done, getting their makeup. I guess I haven't noticed any men doing that. Do a lot of men?
Yes, I have videos. I do locks. I do sister locks. I do regular locks. I crochet and I twist.
So you have a lot of videos
Yes.
out there on YouTube?
I got YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
What's your YouTube so I can add you so I can start commenting on your posts?
Yeah.
Doug Miller.
Doug Miller?
That's great. And that's the way it should be in the community, is that we're all supporting each other. Did anyone have any trouble with the assignment? Go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't started my nursing home, so I had a problem with establishing the preference and building a relationship with a startup. You can have a sales rep, you can have job fairs, and then those employees are worried about there's a new place. But how do you establish, we have somebody establish a preference?
Right. So she's saying if you're just starting your business, how can you get established preference when there's somebody else that's already out there that's doing it and you're not doing anything yet? And the answer to that question is you have to create a prototype, and the prototype has to point directly to the better value. So if I were doing an assisted living facility, what I would do is I would mock up better rooms. I would mock up continual care and service, which a lot of folks don't get. They get ignored while they're in there. So the vision of that continual care and service, the vision of those wonderful meals that aren't currently being served in other places where they're eating junk. And what you need to do is you need to point your customer directly at your vision. And if they can see that, they'll establish precedent. They'll pre-buy. And then a lot of those homes where people send their families and they're getting residents, they're pre-selling orders, so those rooms are full by the time they open up. So you can do it, I promise you that. Doug, did you have were you just waving along? Are you guys with me?
Yes.
All right.
Shrink your fingers.
Where's my expert? We're coming down to the wire now. I know it's been a good 2 hours, but I appreciate everybody's involvement. I think you've all helped each other's businesses. All right. So we're not using Grill anymore, right? What is it?
Strategic marketing.
Okay, strategic marketing, but what'd you say? You're playing the game, and who are you guys? The players.
We're the gamers.
That's right. I mean, we've gone through these over and over and over again, and I just wanted to hammer them home. But I think, basically, this playing marketing is a lot like the tic-tac-toe we did with the X outside the box. Is if you've got a competitor, you can't play by their rules. You have to make up your own. Let's get into a story. See this place? Anyone drive by there? So this is on Route 50. Route 50 is so busy and so horrible that the owner of this place couldn't live there anymore. Literally, if the kids would have ran out in the street, they would have gotten killed because there's 3,000 cars coming by there a day. He couldn't sell the place, so he had to rent it. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. Nobody wanted this place.
Nobody wanted to live there.
No one wanted to live there. Enter DJ Flex. DJ Flex needed a cheap place to rent. He got the place for $700 a month. It's actually a pretty nice place. But what did he put up on the side? It's a billboard. Basically, it's his thing that's a billboard for his company. It gets better, believe me, when I tell you that. The billboard would have cost him $900. So he's at minus $200 on his rent. He got somebody to rent from him for $400. So he's making $600. He started with that sign. And the great thing about that area is it's filled with resorts. Like there's the Grand Geneva, there's the Geneva Inn, there's Geneva National. And what do they have at those resorts?
Tours.
What is it?
Tours.
They have tourists, but what are those? Some of those tourists go up there and do what?
Oh, party.
Well, I'm sure they party. I was with them. Beer, weddings.
Certain kinds of parties.
Well, there's certain kinds of parties that could be photographed. But what's the number one ceremony that gets photographed? Weddings. So he starts with just himself, right? Living in a cheap place that no one wanted to live in. What did he do? Became a player. He gamed the system. 13 DJs he hires now.
Wow.
Living in what other people thought was a dump. Yeah, that's the way you're gonna have to look for the opportunity. Does it make sense? All right, we have put together some different techniques. Who can tell me what bartering is?
I'll give you this for that.
Right, quid pro quo, or they share. That's also what reciprocity is. If you didn't have enough for a billboard, could you buy half the billboard and share with someone else who's a similar business? No problem, right? We talked about opinion leaders. We specifically talked about these networks and associations and chambers. And I'm telling you, if you go in and find your customer in one of these groups, like if you're selling to restaurants, the Restaurant Association, if you're selling to hotels, Hotel Association, but there's an association for every professional organ. There's this Snowboarders Association. There's a medical association. So whatever your product is being sold to, get into that group and network, and you'll fill your pockets with money. All right, we're going to do one more thing. Is I want you to start thinking about this. You have the greater vision for your product, but now you need to simplify it and simplify the message. What was Scooter Girls? What was it? Ride like a local? Exactly. What's BizStarts? Does anyone know what BizStarts is? Empowerment through entrepreneurship. So as you start to narrow down your vision into a 3 or 4 word sentence, I would work on that tonight and get that whole thing going. I had a blast with you guys today. I think we had a lot of fun and we learned from each other. We've got our entrepreneurs coming up. We'll take about a 5-minute break before they go on, and I'm going to let you out by noon. Sound good? All right.